Why, as a man, do you continuously run around alone?
And what you allow to come in your mind controls your fucking heart. A man's word right now doesn't mean shit. Imagine if you just have that in your life. You have the truth and you have honor. That everything that comes out of your fucking mouth, you do it. That you do the shit that you said you're gonna do.
Welcome back to the Warrior Week podcast, and I am your host, Coach Max. This is our coach, Coach Sam. How are you doing today, Coach?
Hey, what's going on, man?
I love it, man. We're here today to talk about a specific question that I have, Coach, and something that I've been seeing a lot inside of men, not just men inside of Warrior Week, but men in general tend to run alone, and almost like the intro says, you can't trust a man's word. And, I'm really curious about this concept of running alone instead of running inside of a pack. And, we see it inside of men that come into Warrior Week and they experience this. And then at the end of it, they're like, this is the fucking best thing I've been through. I'm finally with another man. And then again, they isolate themselves. They don't want to do the work to be part of the group. And so my question to you starts off with, why is a man always willing to isolate himself inside of that concept? Because that's also what brings people to Warrior Week as well, right?
Correct. Well, we can get to the political answer. We can get to the psychological answer, patterns and behaviors, and all that good shit. Or we can get even to a more attractive answer, which would be the personal development industry answer. And trust me, there's plenty of them, right? And they sound like, you're not really obsessed with your goals, because at the end of it, you feel like you're not worthy of them. And when you hear that typical answer from motivator, from people that are on the stage and trying to help others by motivation, and as well as anybody contributing to the personal development industry, there is an aspect of the answer that makes sense, that resonates with all of us, because there's a desire and a need and an opportunity to be encouraged. So some of that comes from a place of goodwill. Some of it comes, and most of it comes from a place of selfishness and trying to either get more popularity or more money. And there's no doubt about that. Let's just put that very straightforward. But to answer your question, we'll just go to the basic fundamental truth. So what was your question?
It revolves around, why does a man isolate himself?
Yeah, because he's a fucking thief.
Okay, yeah, because I think of it like almost like being part of a tribe, right? Or a part of a pack. And inside of like a village, you would have to fucking contribute to the group.
Correct.
And those men that isolate or stay on the fringes, it does seem like they have more of that thief mentality.
Yeah, you're by let's just make something very straightforward. By default, we're all lawbreakers, because our first generation parents stole the fucking apple in the garden. So we're lawbreakers, man. And then comes along and then somehow, somewhere, we're sanctified, we're justified, and we're washed in the blood of Christ, and we're forgiven. But that doesn't exempt us from our temptation to fucking steal. That's the whole fucking point of this. And so, what do I mean? They're thieves? Well, they're thieves of two things. When you look at time, it's something that is not ours.
Yeah.
When you look at time, you're either a thief, meaning you have a possession that is not yours, you stole it, or you're in stewardship of what's being given to you. That's it. So whatever you have in this point of time, it's either something that you're in stewardship, that you and the key word is stewardship, is because you're gonna take care of it and then give it back. It's not yours. You're in stewardship of it, or you're in possession of something that is not yours.
That seems like a very difficult concept to give back. Like it's something that's feeding me, something that's giving me life, something that's like building me up, to suddenly give that away. That doesn't seem like a natural ability for a lot of men. Even this concept of being a thief, right? Like naturally we want to steal shit. Like you go through the grocery mart and all of a sudden they don't charge you for something. You're like, oh, well, fuck it. I'm not going to say anything. They get plenty of money. But the reality of it, you have to tell the truth. You have to tell them, hey, charge me for that shit. So, you know, that seems real difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult because ultimately it's accepting that is your purpose, right? It's not really your timeline, but it's this bigger timeline and you just playing a role. But all that requires discovery and awareness. So what happens to a guy that actually comes close to that? He comes in and figures out that, oh man, I'm clear, this is my purpose. And then, you know, when time goes by, he steals that potential in himself. And the idea is those that are not doing the good work are literally not part of anything that they could share eventually, because they're not laboring some fruit where they can share with somebody in need in the future. So truly who they're stealing from, they're stealing from a man in their lives in the future where they have nothing to give. If you isolate yourself, if you're alone and you're not doing the work, then what fruits you're going to bring to somebody that may need it in the future? And by the way, that person may need, maybe you, asshole. Like literally you're robbing from yourself in the future by isolating yourself and by falling in love of your current story and by signing the worst deal of all time, man, which is I'm going to sign off of not doing the work now for hoping of the potential of doing the work later.
Like compound interest there. I don't feel like it's going to pay out very well. I'm just going to wait and hope. And, you know, I'm happy. I'm content where I'm at.
Correct.
And then I'm not going to move forward. And then all of a sudden the spiral of, oh, fuck, now I'm no longer connected to my family. I'm not connected to my business. I'm not connected to God. Man.
The worst of all time. I'm not doing the work now for the promise of the future. Why the fuck would you sign that deal?
You know, is it mostly because men crave, you know, just I guess like what you were saying about the individuals really getting their own, putting themselves on a stage or self-help. There's always some type of agenda, even like the church, right? There's an agenda for the person who's in charge of the church more than anybody else.
Correct.
So that being said, like, is that part of what draws people to the group, but always keeps them isolated? Like, you know,
it's a matter of like naturally we're drawn to it. Men are drawn to a fellowship.
Yeah.
And so, and even though they join for a moment, then they steal the most precious fucking thing that they can steal, which is they steal the truth, man. They steal the truth. They said they're gonna do some shit they're gonna do, and then they don't do it. They steal the truth and they claim of it, and then they don't fucking do it. Then what do you expect? They have no choice but to isolate because they're ashamed of stealing the truth. They feel guilty for not doing the shit they said they're gonna do, and because of that guilt, they're gonna find a reasonable excuse somewhere, somehow in their brain to justify their decision.
Yeah, see, I feel like if we were in the back in the day of like the village again, and somebody says, "Hey, man, I'm gonna be in charge of hunting, and I'm gonna go out and get food," and then we find the guy that's just sitting on the ground, he's not hunting. Eventually, the fucking tribe will push him out. Right. And they'll isolate him in itself. But that's us making that decision. Whereas now the man almost steals the food and then runs away with it and doesn't come back and almost contribute to the tribe. I don't see men contributing to the whole. Nope. There's always an underlying agenda for themselves.
Yeah. Like sadly, that's the world that's the world of thieves, where it's stolen for the purpose and reframing of something that would make sense to most people. It's stolen for humanity. It's stolen from my family. It's stolen for the best interest of my family, my wife, my kids. And suddenly the duty is forgotten, man. And that idea of thinking that, well, you know, I'm going to make it happen for my world. That mentality is not subscribing to a mentality that says, hey, man, I'm just a worker in the field. And the harvest is his. He'll bring the harvest. I'm just a fucking worker. I'll keep putting the seeds. I'll keep putting the water. I'll just keep doing the work. But the harvest is his. When you don't subscribe to that mentality, You believe in the mentality that it's all on you. It's all on you. It's all on you. It's all on you until it's not. Until it's not. And that's the problem right now in the personal development industry. It's like it's all about the self-discipline, self-organization, self-actualization, self. And inside of that game, like the self has become God. Yeah. And of course, if you're God, then you come up with your own fucking rules and laws. And one is, I don't need the group. Two, I don't need to be accountable to a standard that is called the truth. So I'm going to steal the truth and I'm going to call it my truth. And that's my justification for saying, well, it may not work for you, but it works for me. So why don't you do your thing, your truth, I'll do my truth, and then we can coexist.
That's fucked up. A subjective truth. Yeah, absolutely. It works for you, but it's not really the actual concrete truth. And the truth, like you always say, doesn't need explaining. It is.
Hey, man, listen. I mean, you didn't sign up for a podcast that's going to really fucking pamper your thoughts. It's here to say, hold on a second, man. We're all guilty of thinking this way. We're all guilty of operating. We're all guilty of stealing the truth. What is stealing the truth? It's being completely out of integrity, saying you're going to do something and you didn't do it. We're all guilty of it. Why? Well, because we're all fucking lawbreakers from generations. And again, we are not exempt of our temptation to steal, lie, and do all the things that are just like basically written in the 10 Commandments. But nobody wants to go visit that. Or as soon as you talk about it, oh, it's too religious. No, it's not, bro. It's just saying that the fucked up rules of men, the laws of humanity, the laws of business, all these laws, the laws of the church, the laws of the organizers, all these man-made laws are yet missing one fucking component, and that is compassion. And there's a set of laws, which is the same original laws that was given to us and the 10 Commandments on the other side of the cross that has compassion in it. And motherfucker, you have to study that shit. Because if you don't, then you don't have an operating system to operate by. And then you end up stealing the truth. You end up stealing time. You end up stealing your potential. You end up teaching your children something that is absolutely fucking wrong. Let me give you a tactical example so we get out of the concept and the philosophy talk. Yeah. Here's a tactical example. Remember when you were a fucking kid and your dad and your mom would tell you, hey, man, just say that you're 7-year-old so we can get this shit free?
Yes.
And he's like, what the fuck? Okay, well, whatever. And then their excuse was like, well, it's a bigger company. We need it more than they need it. So remember that shit. Now, if you're a 42-year-old man and you still operate with that and you tell your kid, hey, tell him that you're 7 so you can get in free. Tell him that you're 7 so you can get this. Like, that is the wrong teaching 40 years after you've been taught. It's generational mistakes. And so what stops that? What stops is that I say, hold on a second. I am a fucking thief. I am a thief. I am a thief. That is out of fucking integrity. I'm going to stop that because then I stop the teaching. So the idea is the following. The duty is ours. The consequences is God's, period.
Yeah, I think, immediately when you tell me that story, I think of my story with Amazon and my little one, the 3-year-old, Malcolm breaks the fucking 80-inch TV and breaks it. And so I call Amazon and I'm talking to Amazon and they're like, hey, your warranty is only for the mechanical. It's like an extended warranty. And I'm like, well, what the fuck did I get a warranty for? And they're like, well, how did it break? And the actual person online on the phone call was trying to convince me like it just broke. Nothing hit it. And I was like, no, my little kid hit it with a ball or a toy. And she was like, are you sure? And I'm like, absolutely sure. And she's like, well, that's not under warranty. And then I said, well, why did I fucking buy this warranty if it's not going to work? Like, I paid for this. And by the end of the conversation, the lady says, hold on. She gets on back online and says, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and comp you the whole and we'll reimburse you the whole TV. My mom was in the room and my mom says, Maxie is what she says. Why would you fucking tell them that? And I told my mom, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's the truth. Yeah. Sometimes, most of the time when you tell the truth, it works in your favor.
Correct.
Other times, okay, there's a lesson to be learned there.
Well, like today, we told the truth. And I mean, it's not something that everybody wants to fucking hear that you're a fucking thief.
Yeah.
Because the person that hears that is like, hey, man, what are these guys talking about? Fucking thief. Why the fuck am I listening to these guys like punching me in the fucking face? I'm not a thief. I don't steal. I'm not a human trafficker. I'm not a robber. I'm not. Well, yeah. Well, what about claiming something that is false? What about in your marketing? Have you measured and weighted a lot of stuff based on the truth or based on what you feel that is going to sell? I mean, if you just take your marketing by itself, you find plenty of places where you've stolen the truth.
Yeah, thinking about like you stole something from your body today. You know, if you've eaten like shit or if you drank alcohol in that sense, yeah, you've stolen something from.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
if you abuse some of those substances, you've stolen your health, man. Time, health, potential, money in your business, money in your donation, money in your contribution. Think about gambling, right? Okay, you have fun, fine. If you have fun, okay, that's your ticket to have fun. But when it goes above and beyond that, you're stealing money from your own bank account, bro.
Yeah, from your kids, from your family. You know, Coach, you brought up a great thing in regards to stealing the apple. One of my favorite stories that you talk about is from Genesis, and you talk about how Adam basically, when God comes, first thing he does is point the finger. It was like the woman you gave me. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah,
some of these fucking guys haven't heard that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's simple, right? It's where we first started the game of the blame, and you know, the kids are in the garden, and you know, next thing you know, one of them takes a bite of the apple, and then God's asked Adam and says, "Hey, what did you do that?" And he says, "I didn't do it. She did it." Right? That's the first level of blame. You blame your fucking wife. How many of us have done that?
Yeah, right here.
2, if that wasn't enough, the woman you give me, right? Like, okay, so now you blame God too. How many of us have blamed God for the circumstances we've been in? I mean, as men, we are pre-wired to do that shit. And if we're gonna sit here and we're not gonna admit that, that's the problem. The problem of humility is not dependent on what you voice or your vulnerability or what you don't. The problem of humility is accepting that we're a fuck up. And we were born with this idea of blaming her and him. So who do we blame? The people that are the most important in our lives, God and our wife. That's fucked up, man. We are pre-wired to blame them in our thoughts for those things. So every day we have to work on that. This has nothing to do with fucking personal development. This has to do with character building.
Yeah.
A character of a man is somebody that every day examines his lies and knows that he's set up potentially that lie to sin, to lie, to steal. But it's just not the definition of what is out. Well, I don't steal. I don't kill. You shall not kill. I don't kill. Yeah, you don't kill. But if you truly study that law and you understand that when Christ explained it, it's really the feeling that drives to kill, and that is anger. And so it's talking about anger. Every time we have anger, hate. And how many of us go through days like just hating the enemy, hating someone, hating a person? And it's the filtering of the character that creates fellowship together. And when somebody doesn't want to be accountable to the filtering system, that's where they isolate themselves, and that's where they rather do the fucked up shit without guilt because they can justify it. That's the problem.
Yeah, you just fucking hit it. That's the nail in the coffin right there, is because they can justify it. When they're isolated, there's no one to hold them accountable. There's no one to fucking bring the fruits to and be like, hey man, this is what I've produced. This is what I've done. I said I was going to do this. And it's that, again, that pack mentality that if I'm not in the pack, I don't have to fucking own my shit. I can just do what I want. And you bring up another great point was, you know, when you think of those, like that mentality of anger, which leads to hate, which leads to killing, you know, a lot of us talk about all this other shit, and I'm not going to get into gun laws and all that bullshit, but what I am going to get into is mental health. Yeah. And actually addressing that inside of us, you know, like this wanting this, we see another girl and we're like, oh, fuck. And we look at her, or this drive, and then naturally we pull back to our wife when we find the beauty inside of our wife, where some men can't even control that.
Correct.
And that's all part of that innate ability that requires daily work, daily
self-examination, recognizing that the lost and the desires and everything is inside of us. inside of us. Hey, man, you're not a holy man. Hey, man, you're not a man of God. Such a man does not fucking exist. There was only one, and that was Christ that came down, the humanity of Christ, period. Everybody else is fucking infected. But it's up to us to examine that and make sure that, hey, man, we don't fall into this temptation. We don't have the strength to overcome the temptation. That's why if you look at the Lord's Prayer, you ask God, do not put us in the situations where the temptations are there. Do not put it in those environments. So that the prayer is not give me strength to overcome those. It's like, don't even put me in those places because I know I'm weak and I will fall for the temptation. So I don't want to be in those fucking environments. Well, if I don't want to be in those environments, it starts with me examining myself, my pattern and behaviors, so that I can declare it and then I can follow that. I don't want to be in those environments. And then there are so many environments. There is money environments. There is greed for food. There is greed for sex. There is greed for money. There's typically just greed for resources and opposite sex. That's what a man is dealing with. Greed, broken down in different categories. And to be able to manage that. And a man could manage his greed in business. A man could manage his greed in sex. But then he falls to the temptation of food, let's say. So like in all our attempt for perfection, there's plenty of imperfection. And that's what we have to check, man, every morning.
Yeah, all of us. And that's something that you continuously say is all of us, have this battle. And one way or another, we're here to conquer it and work on it, but we can't. It's just part of a daily routine, right? And with that, I go back to even the story of Dumb and Dumber, when you brought up Dumb and Dumber and the end of the bus.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I thought about it was, fuck, man, if the bus shows up at the end of that movie and I'm by myself, there's no cameras, there's no other dumbass with me, just by myself, and there's a van full of these women, am I that dumb and that young and that willingness to succumb to, hey, the town is that way and I'm going this way, right? Like that's a great
test. Well, dude, here's the deal. You've heard this, right? They say the definition of integrity is doing the things when nobody's watching.
Yes.
And that is bullshit. That is a bullshit, because that is exactly that scenario. There's failure in that. So you'll do your workout without anybody check. But what about you doing this thing in your bank account? What about you not saying this other information to your health insurance or to your car insurance because you don't want the fees to go up? But what about that scenario, right? Like at the end of the movie Dumb and Dumber, and now you're alone in the desert and there's 32 chicks in a bikini that shows up and asks you for direction. You're thirsty, you're fucking hungry, you're alone, there's no other fucking cars. Are you going to have the courage to say go that way? Or are you going to be tempted to get on the fucking bus? Whatever your fucking intentions are. So don't sit there and tell me the definition of integrity, because that definition, you can only agree to it one-dimensionally in one area. Well, at best, two areas. But if you look at the 4 dimensions of life, which is relationships with wife and kids and others, your connection and relationship with God, a personal relationship with the Father. And if you don't know what that is, well, then you're going to have to explore that. There are people that have a relationship with God, which is a concept. And then there are people that have a relationship with the Father, the Heavenly Father. And there is a way to get that. And the way is narrow. So I invite you to explore, to read the Bible on it and figure out, like, what is it calling you? And trust me, it's not going to be because you decided to read that you're going to find it, or you decided to go after it that you're going to get it. It's going to be installed in your heart whenever he wants to. But that's an investigation that has to be done. A third area is in your body. Your health, your weight, your height, the way you look, the way you handle yourself, the way you like your entire body, whatever that comes with that, all of its composition. And the final stage is your level of production, your ability to produce, your ability to do the good work, your ability to work with your 2 hands and work honestly, so that someone else that may be in need of something you can actually have something to share with them. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that if you refuse to fucking work and get the government check and stay home and play video games, what are you going to fucking offer?
Yeah, what are you giving back?
Some advice and some fucking video character that, hey, man, you should buy this skin for this game because it's better? Do you think that that's the purpose of life, that you were here to manage some earthly possession and this God was just a property manager that would manage the earthly possession? There is a labor that is required of you. There's a purpose of you. There's a good work inside of you. There's a gift given by God to you that is not to be put to waste, that is not to put to misuse or even losing. But if you have your fucking head in your ass or in the sand and you don't want to wake the fuck up, then guess what? Years will go by and the only thing you'll fucking carry with yourself in your grave is your fucking regrets. So I'm sorry if the language is harsh. I'm sorry if the language doesn't fit into your, Sunday Bible study or your fucking church or anything else. But the truth is the truth, and is not yours and ours to fucking steal and be out of integrity. You can't say you're going to do some shit and then not doing, because then you're the thief of the truth. You're the thief of integrity.
Well, and back to the idea of integrity is it should not be situational. It should be consistent. It should be something you strive for, to actually know what that is inside of you and what that is all around you, right? Like, it shouldn't be something you say, oh, I'm going to do it even when I'm alone, or I'm going to do it when I see a person that needs help. I'm just going to give them money. Like, it should just be something that's constantly wanting to come out, something that I'm constantly thriving for. And so many times, you're right, we do make it situational. We only want the situation because now it's like, oh, fuck, God might be watching, or, oh, fuck, somebody might be watching, so I'm going to be good now. No, fuck that. Be good all the time.
A very valid point. And the reality is that we're rarely alone nowadays because social media is always with us. I did this, I did that. Here's a life story. Here's this. So let's come on, man. Let's not fucking dick around and lie to ourselves with all these definitions. Motherfucker, you ain't never alone anymore because you always got your phone and your live phone and your life stories and all this bullshit, or at least your wife's or somebody else's. There's always somebody reporting on where you at. Unless you live in the fucking forest and you're like anti-phone and anti-social, which you would probably be anti-podcast. At this point, you're not even fucking hearing this. So that's not even the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, period. And you're probably isolating in some way or another.
No, most definitely are.
Unless you're involved in a group, and that's how you actually get outside.
Yeah, I mean, that's another isolation. You may be the guy's putting fucking oil on his nipple right now in the middle of a forest and hoping for Krishna to come in and suddenly turn everything around. And then you don't do any work. You don't do any work. You live happily in the fucking woods with the dogs and the animals and the worms. And you have a story that Krishna will come and Krishna will save the world, and the world would be one peaceful world and would be all reunited, and the universe, that until a fucking, wild animal like a mountain lion or a wolf or a fucking bear comes in and eat half of your fucking face. And then you're like, oh shit, I better wake the fuck up and find the nearest fucking hospital.
This world's aggressive.
I need modern surgery, man. It's not by putting some, green leaf or some drink from the earthly mother that my half a face is going to get back to it. I got a fucking emergency. Where's that fucking phone 911?
Well, that brings up specifically, like, there has to be action daily to overcome your ability to want to isolate, to go and steal, and to steal all the greed, right? Because inside of us, that greed is constantly wanting us to pull to it, and again, this concept comes to me when I think of all the Warrior Weeks that I've been involved with from 64 to 69. I see the end of the Warrior Week and I see the end of the week. And one of the biggest things that I always hear from all the men is, oh, fuck, I've been searching for this all my life. And these are men that are in the ages of like 30 to 50. And this is something that we all thirst for, is this wantingness to be a part of something greater than us, part of something bigger than us. And then we get inside and then we get back to the daily work and we get into this routine and suddenly we realize, oh, fuck, this is going to be hard to be held accountable this way. This is going to be fucking hard for me. And then they suddenly, you can see them start to pull themselves out. isolate. And whether that's because they want to continuously cheat on their wife, or they want to continuously not strive to get closer to God, they don't want to actually produce, which is weird to me. A lot of men just don't want to produce for their family or their body. You know, I just, it pains me to see the man still do that, even when they have an operating like system. And I mean, fuck, you've been doing this now for 9 years, 9 fucking years. And yet you're very passionate about it. You still see a lot of love in men. You still have this humility. You still have this thrive to pass on this message. And that's something I've always really loved about you, Coach. I mean, not to swing off your dick or anything like that, but that's something for the last, 9 years I've known you. You've never wavered. From the moment you made the decision to fucking pass on this message, you've never fucking wavered.
No. And, like, I'm not the most popular guy, right? There's not too many people listen to this shit, but they won't like it, or they won't admit they're listening to it. And hopefully, even by that, it something shifts in the way of thinking. But the truth has never been popular. And the reality is men will continue to be thieves. I will be a thief. You will be a thief. It's a matter of correcting yourself every morning and reminding yourself that, man, I am not exempt from my temptation of stealing time, stealing potential future for myself, being a fucking robber in my own house, robbing my kids' future, robbing my wife's potential. Like, motherfucker, it's time to wake the fuck up and stop living in your goddamn fucking brain, and stop getting fed by personal developers and personal development industry that continuously feed your mind with the story of self-actualization, that it's up to you. If it was up to you by now, you would have everything you wanted. Well, how about that? How about that? Oh, I wrote a check to myself 30 years ago for $1 million and now it came true. Oh, okay, let me guess. You made it happen. You made it happen. And if that's the way you're going to think, man, you're robbing the biggest thing from yourself, and that is purpose. You wander around with all the cars, with all the money, with all the family, everything as a perfect image out there, and yet you're empty inside. Empty of a purpose, not knowing, what is this all for? Man, I'm 42. Fuck, I'm only 52. And as soon as you start getting 62 and you start clocking on 72, then you start realizing that what is this all for about becomes a very important question. But at 42, your pride will fucking pump it up with personal development, and will have you jump on the stage and saying, this is to become one with everyone, to believe in a false concept so that you can justify and assume being a fucking thief of your own potential.
Coach, I'm going to use that today for the action item. So the action item today is take all 4 domains, so your body, your balance, your being, and your business, and find one thing that you're stealing from yourself or those around you, inside your body, inside your being, your connection to God, your balance. So what are you stealing from your wife or your kids, and what are you depriving them of? And then what are you stealing from your business? Find that, investigate that. Always, Coach, thank you. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you for letting us have this moment with you. And then also, too, guys, if you want to see more of our podcast, check out warriorweeknow.com. We have them all streaming there. You can go back. There's hundreds of them, even having men interviewed. And also, too, check out warriorweek.com. This is a great way to get involved with the actual event. But however, you have to get an application and you have to know somebody that's been involved. So please check us out. Always, till next time, we will see you soon.
Quit on your wife, quit on your kids, quit on your desires. It's okay to be okay. Manually putting the fucking blindfold on yourself. Tonight, you're gonna find out what power is.